Hi, thanks for tuning in to another dose of bite-sized bits of knowledge where we give you meaningful information in a short amount of time. Today, we're jumping into a very specific concept called drag-along and tag-along rights. You'll find them in a shareholders agreement or an operating agreement or a limited partnership agreement, which is in either case, they're all agreements among the owners. What these provisions mean is, or relate to, is when you sell your shares of your company. In particular, we'll start with drag-along. A drag-along right would mean that a party selling their shares to a third party can force the other shareholders to have to sell their shares too. The result is that all of the shares of the company are being sold. Now that's good in many cases for a buyer, because a buyer is going to want to have certainly control, but the whole is better than the parts in this context. So it's desirable for a buyer. It might destroy the deal actually if the buyer is only able to buy a small percentage of non-controlling shares. The other option is a tag-along. Tag-along, I think we use less often than drag-along. Drag-along is better in most cases than tag-along. Tag-along basically says, okay, well, if you're selling your shares, you have to include our shares in the sale. And so what that does is you have a situation where maybe the controlling shareholder is selling their shares to a buyer. And now the buyer is being told that, well, to buy these shares, you have to buy all of them. And that's going to probably destroy the deal if the buyer is not interested in that, because that means the buyer has to come up with a lot more money probably. And that may not be desirable for the buyer. So the buyer may not want the tag-along rights, whereas the drag-along rights might be much more desirable to a buyer, because they might want the whole thing, and that's the way to force that issue. So drag-along, tag-along, you should see them in most agreements, or at least one of them, and that's what they are. I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for more.